Have you ever noticed how awkward it is to walk in these, especially when the trail gets icy? And have you ever wondered what might happen if you were to, I don't know, slip and fall? Well, now you know. So in light of what I'm dealing with, this is your reminder to wear microspikes on the approaches. Now when I'm talking about microspikes, I'm talking about these. A simple strap that can go over your boot where you have chains and spikes on the bottom of your boot. They're not like a crampon, but they offer just a little bit more bite into the ice. And these versions of microspikes are great for walking on icy trails or just iced over creeks. I actually prefer these for doing those types of approaches. And honestly, this style would make approaching in highlight so much easier. I don't know if you've ever noticed with highlight, there's a lot of trails that get really icy. It almost forces you to a point of whether you're either going to have to struggle getting up the hill with no crampons or microspikes, or you put on crampons. And let me tell you, walking with crampons on kind of rocky terrain and kind of frozen terrain really sucks. It's not comfortable, it's super awkward, and your ankles hurt after. It's not great. Whereas microspikes, because you're not like walking on stilts, they're actually really comfortable to walk in, and they just offer that much more security in your footing. So these for highlight are amazing. But it's not just highlight. The trails to getting to climbs up here, can sometimes get really iced over, or sometimes you have to walk through a frozen creek bed. These are amazing for that because they just offer that much bite and security into the ice. It kind of extends how far you can go without putting on your crampons. Because sometimes there's a lot of times where you go to climb, and pretty immediately you put on your crampons and you start walking to the climb. Whereas with these, you can actually get over some slight little bulges and kind of shimmy your way up some certain ice features, even that water ice 1 range. So then you don't have to put on your crampons immediately. And that's awesome because, like I said, walking in crampons kind of sucks. So the less time I have to actually spend in crampons to walk, it's great. But even for going like downhill, it's amazing. And like what happened to me, I was going downhill, I slipped, and yeah, it's messed up now. And it could have easily been avoided if I just wore these. Now, why didn't I wear them? Well, maybe I was just too lazy to put them on, because sometimes they're a little bit difficult to put them on. But in retrospect, it's worth it to take the time to put them on, because I wouldn't have to be dealing with this now. But the other thing that can kind of happen too is when you're kind of dealing with warmer conditions and kind of wet snow, they tend to ball up just like snow balls up at the bottom of a crampon. And when that happens, it's weird because you literally have like a snowball at the bottom of your boot and none of the spikes are engaged. So they're kind of useless at that point. So maybe that's why I didn't do it, but I think I just didn't bring them because I was like, who needs them anyways? Well, you do need them. And from now on, I'll always have microspikes on. And I don't know why I really didn't. Last year I kind of started using microspikes a lot for approaches. And I was like, wow, this is really smart. Why didn't I jump on this earlier? And that's kind of a thing, microspikes aren't brand new to ice climbing for approaching. A lot of people use them. But at the same time, I see a lot of people who just struggle with icy conditions and no crampons or no microspikes. And I don't know why we choose to deal with that. Like, we obviously know that mountaineering boots suck when it gets icy. They're stiff, they're like ski boots, and the rubber is just horrendous. Even with these, which have softer rubber, they don't really do a whole lot. Like, when it's icy, it's scary. But, it really just does mitigate all of that when you put on a pair of microspikes. So yeah, like going forward, I'm always going to be using microspikes. If there's anything you can gather from this video, go get yourself a pair of microspikes and wear them on the approaches. It'll make your life so much better.